I'm really excited for this video today because I'm going to be talking about 10 books to get to know me. These are 10 books that I actually own that I feel like encompass who I am as a reader. I got this idea from a creator that I've really been loving their videos, and I will link their video and the idea in the description, so make sure you check that out because I don't remember the name right off the top of my head, but I will link it below. These are my 10 books. Okay, well, we're not gonna do that. It's top 10 in no particular order. Like, this is not me ranking them 1 through 10. These are just like the 10 books that I looked on my shelf. I looked through the books that I've read, the books that I've bought and spent my own money on, because I love going to the library. So some books I check out from the library and then I never see it again. So these are the books that I actually like have, that I feel are the best to get to know me as a reader, as a person. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. This book is literally so important to me. Now, it might be cliche, and I hope you don't click off the video because this is like a classic, but nobody loves this classic like I love this classic. It is just how do you describe like the feeling you get from like just a great, phenomenal book? You feel warm, you feel cozy, a book that you've read multiple times throughout the years, and it always just, you get something different from it every time. This is one of these books to me. I really love the story behind how Mary Shelley wrote this book. She wrote this book because they challenged her to write a ghost story that was scarier than anything they could write, and anything they could write, and she wrote this. Now, if that's not inspiring to you, that doesn't make you want to read it, then I don't know what, because I love that idea. Like, she was like, oh, y'all are playing with me? Okay, let me show you this, watch this, because this is a ghost story, horror story, but it's so much deeper than that. And honestly, it's one of the reasons why I like horror, the genre of horror, so much, because horror is always so complex. It's not just like the jump scare and the monster that scares you, it's the deeper things. The exploration of father and child, parent and child, that relationship explored in here is so good. And if you haven't seen the new Frankenstein movie on Netflix, that one, I was so scared because I have this thing with whenever they do Frankenstein and they do like this monster, like I feel like they just, the Frankenstein movies never do the story itself justice, and like it irritates me that like because of the way movies have been done, people always refer to the monster as Frankenstein, and that literally drives me insane. Like, I could talk about that for hours, but the movie was so good. And yes, I know the movie made a lot of changes. I feel like the changes didn't change the story compared to some other adaptation that will not be named in this video right now. First time I read Frankenstein was in high school. Shout out to my 10th grade English teacher. She's the one that made me fall in love with classical literature. Literally the teacher that taught me how to annotate the way I still annotate to this day. If you can't tell, I was a nerd. Like, I literally had favorite teachers. But that's when I first read this. I reread it like, I don't even know how many times, and I always get something different from it. I always love it even more. We talk about this one for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, because no one ever, I can never find anybody that has read these books, and hopefully after this, somebody will read these books. This is Sweetheart by Chelsea Cain. This is one of the entire series. This book, so the first time I ever read this series, I was in middle school. Now, if you don't know what this series is about, you wouldn't understand why that would be problematic. This story is about a female serial killer, and a detective and a reporter. These are the three main people in this story: the serial killer and the detective Archie, who literally, you can't make a better male protagonist than Archie Sheridan. I love him down. I also love Susan, the reporter. I really see myself in her. She's very like, she's smart but sometimes unfocused. Anyway, they go in each book, there's like a different killer kind of, but the main antagonist throughout the series is Gretchen Lowell. They call her the Sweetheart Killer. She's like a very prolific, she was a profiler, and her and Archie had an inappropriate relationship, and they kind of like it ebbs and flows throughout the series. These books are so good. And no, The writing may not be the best to some people. I like it. I enjoy it. I think it is good. But it's also a book that when I was in middle school, obviously I could not check this book out and have my mom find out what I was reading. So during my brother's soccer practices, I would go, there was a library across the street. I lived in Hawaii at the time. It was the Kapolei Library, in case, if you want to know. So I would go across the street and I would go into the library. I would sit in the corner and I would read these books, and then I would put them back because I couldn't check it out. And that is how I read these books, because if my mom found out that I was reading this, I would have gotten in trouble. But that doesn't matter. It really introduced me to the concept of like reading quietly in the library. I felt so mysterious, 6th grade me. And also this book represents my interest in true crime. Now that I'm a mom, I can't really get into true crime the same way that I used to because I get anxiety. But I still love to come back to these books because they're just that good. Also, they're based in Portland, Oregon, which I love Portland, Oregon in theory. In real life, I don't know if I could ever live there, but in theory, it's cute. It's cute. I like it. And I used to have this fantasy that I would live somewhere in the forest, but no. Next, we have City of Glass. Now, I know this is not the first book in the series. However, The Mortal Instruments means a lot to me. This is one of the best YA books that I ever read. I've reread them multiple times, even as an adult, and I still love them. I love the characters. I love the universe. I love the world building. Jace Wayland is literally one of my favorite literary characters. He is in competition with Peeta from Hunger Games. That's how much I love him. I love the story that goes on between Jace and Clary, their love story. I have not read the other books in the Cassandra Clare universe, which I know is like a big crime to some people. When I say that, people are like, oh my gosh. But I love these books. They mean so much to me. They also represent my interest in supernatural. I love everything supernatural. Like, yeah, I'm getting into. I love the concept of the shadow hunters and the fighting monsters and the angels and all of that. This reminds me so much of like the show Supernatural, which if that's one of my favorite shows ever. Like that might be the best show of all time actually. But I love these. I love the dynamics. I love the story that unfolds. Mainly this book is on my list because of the literary characters in this. I absolutely love the way they are created and how deep their stories go. They're like generational. Tangent context for this one. When I was in college, I took a banned books class. This is when I was still, I thought I was gonna minor in English. Changed my mind, like I did multiple times in college, and I ended up majoring in anthropology after I failed this class. But just because you failed a class, listen, I failed, actually, let me give context because that sounds bad. I failed the class because my great-grandmother passed away. She had Alzheimer's. She passed away right in like the almost end of the semester. So like I skipped the final. I missed a couple days of class. And my professor was not hearing that because I was a little bit distracted throughout the rest of the semester. But honestly, it was because I wasn't really interested in the whole English thing. I had a lot going on. Look, college is hard, but the class was really fun. I really did engage with it. I really liked the professor. She was hilarious. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, she was the professor who told us that she lived in the same town as the BTK killer and that like she'd seen him, and like they all, when they found out who he was, it was like this whole thing. And I don't know if that's like a fever dream, if I made that up, because it's like kind of foggy, but I remember her saying that. But anyway, this book is from that class. This is The Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. The writing in this book is absolutely phenomenal, like genius level. And I feel like it hardly gets mentioned when people are talking about classics, and it needs to be talked about. This book is about a man who, he's in Harlem. He is going through like just a lot of like racial trauma and identity issues. It's just so good. Like when you're reading it, it is so immersive. The language is just, this is just a masterclass on writing, which is why it's on my list. The topics talked about in this book are so complex, and interestingly, and written in such an interesting way. I feel like everyone should read this book. One of my favorite things about this book is that I actually got it because I was in college at the time. I discovered this store called Thrift Books, and I bought a bunch because it's banned books class. We read like 10 different books for this class. So I was like, well, I'm not going to Barnes & Noble and buying all them 10 books because I'm broke. So I went on Thrift Books and I got this book. It was used. It was one of the first books used I ever bought. And like it has notes from whoever had it before me. It has all these annotations in it, which I honestly love that. And that's like one of my favorite things about buying used books, because I have no idea who this person was, but like I get to read their notes, and I just think that's so cool. I really love it. This book is, this book is due for a reread because I'm an adult now. In college I think I was like 18 when I read this book. So this is really good on my list. Next, I'm very excited about this one. Eternal Ruin. This is book number 2 by Tigist Gurma. Let me tell you something. This right here, first of all, she's beautiful. She's gorgeous. Look at the sides. I'm normally not a big like painted edge person, but this does something for me. I really enjoy this. I absolutely love the world that is constructed in this book. Black vampires, first of all, that's it. That's the speech. It's just so good. Like, and I feel every time I look at this book, when I read this book, this and the first one, I feel like if 16-year-old me had this book, my life would literally have a different trajectory. Like, we need more representation in horror, in vampires, in this genre. Woman author, I love her. I can't wait to see the next installment of this series. I mean, I just love it. I just love it so much. And I feel like this book really represents what I look for in what I read, honestly. Like, and if you haven't read this, if you haven't read Immortal Dark, first of all, Immortal Dark is just as beautiful as this. She put out, the next one is supposed to come out either the end of this year or next year. I'm not sure. I'm looking forward to it very much so. The ending is heartbreaking. It's devastating, actually, but it's so worth it. Like, literally every page, every sentence, every word is so worth the time that you invest in this book and in these characters and in this story. Like, I cannot praise this book enough. It's so good. We have Beautiful Boy by David Sheff. This, first of all, I've never seen the movie, and I probably won't ever see the movie because I've seen enough edits and I've seen enough reviews that I don't know if I want to get into that. I picked up this book because I wanted to watch the movie and I was tired of avoiding all the things. And then I read this book and I was like, oh no, I'm too sensitive for that. I cannot. And literally, I feel like this book is so important to me, like as a parent, because it's like, you can do so many things. You can do so many things to shield your child from the world, and like, it could not even matter, you know? And I feel like that it's terrifying, it's scary. It's also like, there's a moment in this book where David, he starts to view his son as like his own individual, and I feel like that is like an aha moment in parenthood, when it's like, you can literally be the best parent in the world, but your kid still has like, I mean, a unique combination of chemicals and genetics and all that. Like, it doesn't matter. Sometimes it doesn't matter, and they have their own choices and their own path that they are going to forge, and there's all you could do is literally love them and accept them for who they are and be there when they need you, but you can't force anything. And I feel like that is one of like the saddest like realizations in this book. I think it's really important. I think if anyone is a parent, especially in this new modern world that we live in with all of the things that are accessible to them, like, you need to read this. It was really good. Learned a lot about addiction that I didn't know. It was just beautiful. And I don't really read a lot of memoirs, but I feel like this is a memoir. And I did add, his son actually has his own like autobiography that I did add to my TBR that I was going to read. I haven't got to it yet, but this book was so good. It was so beautiful. Now, listen, I'm not a big classical book reader, but I do enjoy classic here and there, right? And this book is actually what got me into classics. It's what got me to appreciate certain classics. And it is nothing other than The Count of Monte Cristo. Now, this book is fat. She's thick, okay? She's a thick girl. But literally every page, every chapter is so amazing. So amazing. The story that is told is timeless. Like, when I first was like getting into it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this book is gonna go over my head. It's not gonna mean anything to me. It's set back in like 18 whatever. Like, you know, I was like, I'm okay, like this, it can't be that good, right? But I was like, as I kept getting deeper and deeper into the story, into the narrative, I was like, this is crazy. Like, it was like a reality TV show unfolding, but like the stakes were so high, and I was rooting for him the entire time, while also like this, right? It's dastardly, you know, it's so, this is so, and then after I've read this book twice, after I read it the second time, I was like, when I was formulating, oh, what am I gonna read this year? What am I gonna plan to read? I was like, I low-key wanna read The Count of Monte Cristo again because it's so good. And then I saw this TikTok of this book talker talking about how the Alexander Dumas is biracial, or like his father was biracial, and that's who he based this story off of. And so this is a Black classic, you know, so that has even changed my mind. And there's another book called The Black Count, I think it's The Black Count, and it's based on the character Alexander Dumas' father, who he based his book off. Now, once I heard that, I'm like, yeah, this book, this is a staple. This should be a staple in every household that is a book reader. This is also a book that I always like to think back to whenever I am intimidated to reach for any book. I'm like, girl, you read this, you understood this, you like this, you enjoyed this, you can read any book that you want to read, okay? Because like I said, like, that is crazy. And I did it. And it's so worth it. And everyone should read it. Even if you gotta listen to it on an audiobook, you have to, because the story is just honestly, I don't even know if they have any good movie adaptations, but I would be sad for a movie adaptation of this. But I want it to be historically accurate, if you know what I mean. And I'm gonna leave it at that. I went back and forth about including this one on the list because I was like, I'm grown, I'm an adult, I've moved past this era of my life. But then at the same time, like, this book is what made me the reader that I am, you know. Well, it didn't make me, but you know, because I've always been a reader. I always loved books, but this book is like an era. It highlights an era of my life, and it is none other than Eclipse by Stephanie Meyer. Now, before you click off, before you judge me, I will admit this book is not that, it's poorly written. It really honestly is. It's not written that good. There's lots of potential in this book that falls flat because of Stephanie Meyer and her thoughts and beliefs that I'm not gonna get into in this video. However, comma, I feel like that's what I like the most about this book, is that it has all this potential that, to me, as a reader, aspirational writer, I feel like I can take that in my brain and never have the amount of potentiality and gaps in my writing. Also, full transparency, I was Team Jacob, and this book is what I go to when I'm in the field, when I'm in the trenches defending Jacob, because in this book, Bella literally says multiple times that she loves him, and they left it out the movie. They butchered his character in the movie. Stephanie Meyer herself butchered his character. She butchered the indigenous people that she used to base a huge plot points of this book. She honestly did. And then I just feel like there was so much more to explore with the wolves and with the tribe and all that stuff. And it's just like a side story to her. And I feel like that's like one of the worst atrocities that she committed. That's not the only one, but that's one of the worst. And how she did Jacob, because my Jacob would never do that. I don't know who that is, but imprinting on a baby, on Bella's daughter. And then it's like, oh my gosh, don't even get me started on the, maybe he was supposed to imprint on her, but because Bella had something wrong with her brain and Edward couldn't hear her, maybe that's why Jacob couldn't imprint on her. So maybe they actually are meant to be. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying here? Lots of potential, but it falls flat. But I will not deny that this book is what introduced me to the world of vampires, made me fall in love with the world of vampires. Well, I wouldn't say introduced, because I was on Buffy the Vampire Slayer before this, so I always loved vampires, but this book just holds a special place in my heart, even with all its problems. But I will acknowledge all of its problems. I will not deny that. But it had to be on the list. Is Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. I love this book so much. This book is just, it just feels like a connection to the past, you know? Like, I really enjoy it. It feels like a conversation with like an older person, and they're telling you about something that they went through in the past, and you're just sitting there just listening, and you're like, wow, like that's low-key illegal now, but you know, but you're still listening. That's what this book feels like. I recently just listened to a podcast episode about Zora Neale Hurston on Our Ancestors Were Messy, and if you've never listened to that podcast, you gotta do it. It was about her and Langston Hughes. Crazy, and it makes me love her even more. It makes me love her even more. It makes me side-eye Langston Hughes a little bit more. I'm not gonna lie. I really love this book. This book is like, it's like a baby to me. Like, I'll never let her go. This last, but definitely not least, we have Hood Feminism. This book gave me the vocabulary, the verbiage to be able to articulate my own experiences and my own thoughts and beliefs on feminism, specifically white feminism. This book, everybody who proclaims themselves to be a feminist, you need to read this because it is phenomenal. It tackles so many issues. Like I said, it gives you the verbiage to be able to communicate exactly and like what the problems are. Let's just talk about the chapter names. We have Solidarity is Still for White Women, Gun Violence, Hunger, of hashtag Fast Tail Girls and Freedom, It's Raining Patriarchy, How to Write About Black Women, Pretty Fora, Black Girls Don't Have Eating Disorders, The Fetishization of Fears, The Hood Doesn't Hate Smart People, that was my favorite chapter, Missing and Murdered, Fear and Feminism, Race, Poverty, and Politics, Education, Housing, Reproductive Justice, Eugenics and Maternal Mortality, Parenting While Marginalized, Allies, Anger, and Accomplices. When I tell you, and in our year of 2026, you need to read this. Different essays, it's very manageable, it's very easy to understand. There's no language that sometimes is like, you know, the insufferable snooty language that is hard to understand. It's very, very accessible in that. My wish is that every white woman who calls herself a feminist, as I do, will read this book in a state of hushed and humble respect. Tap in, okay? This is a good book to have on your shelf. Those are the books, the 10 books that make me, that would describe me if you summarize them all and you put them all together, that you feel more connected to me as a reader. You understand my mind, my likes. I wonder if any of these 10 books would make your 10 list. Let me know in the comments. Let me know any book suggestions that you think I would like based off of those 10 books, because I'm always looking to be reading more. And honestly, there was a lot of books that like almost made the cut that I didn't put on here. There was some other like nonfiction books that I put on there, but they were books that like I listened to audiobooks, or like books that I got from the library that I don't actually own, and I kind of wanted to like narrow it down to books that I owned. So I almost put the 1619 Project on here instead of Hood Feminism. If you've never read the 1619 Project, that book is a doozy. I feel like that should be like mandatory reading for like every single American. It was powerful, it was inspirational, motivating, it was depressing, it was sad, it was devastating. It was all of those things, and it almost made this list, but I didn't put it on here. I almost put The Beautiful and Damned by F. Scott Fitzgerald, but then I was scrolling on TikTok and I found out that he stole a lot of his work from his wife. And I said, ooh, I don't like that. So I didn't put that on there, but I do really like that book a lot. And that's really all I can think of right now. So I'm gonna end the video right here because I'm gonna start rambling. But yeah, thanks for watching.